I absolutely love college football. It's so awesome to me for so many different reasons. It's really surreal to think about. It feels like the season just started yesterday and it's already coming to an end. It feels like it takes forever to get here, and when it does get here, it's almost as gone as quick as it started. We have a lot to talk about and many things to get into in today's video. Before we go any farther, I have to get this out of the way. I'm not a person who shows too much emotion whether I'm at the game or watching it on TV. I normally have zero reactions. With that being said, when I was watching Oklahoma play today, what Spencer Rattler did, it made me smile. I can't lie. I couldn't hold it in. I was beyond happy for this man. For my Oklahoma fans or the people that watched the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you didn't, I'll explain a little later in this video. We also have to get into what I would call a weird situation overall with Spencer Rattler in Oklahoma. I've seen people with different perspectives on the situation. I'll leave you guys up to debate it in the comment section. So without further ado, let's talk about the games. Real quick, before we get into Rattler in Oklahoma, I want to talk about this Michigan State game. Well, not really the game, but Jim Harbaugh. I've always seen Jim Harbaugh as a off-brand Nick Saban. He makes me mad, and I'm not even a fan of Michigan. If you are a Michigan football fan, I gotta give you credit and props. I don't know how you deal with it. What pisses me off to the max is every year Jim Harbaugh, he wins enough games to verify and justice him not getting fired, but he continues to lose the games that make his fan base even more mad. He'll win the games he's supposed to win, but whenever he's playing a top 10 team, he's like 2-12 or something like that, and I believe he hasn't even beaten Ohio State since he's been there. It's almost like when a girl's teasing you. She's acting like she wants you, but she really don't. That's how it is with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan State. He's acting like he's going to be good, then they lose games they shouldn't. Or not games they shouldn't, but the big time games, like Michigan State and Ohio State. The thing with Harbaugh, he reminds me a lot of Gus Malzahn, who was the head coach at Auburn. Anybody that watched Auburn play or saw him coach, they knew he wasn't going to lead them to the promised land. Gus Malzahn at Auburn, he would somehow get the fan base mad, and right when they were ready to fire him, he would beat Alabama and win them back. The biggest difference with Malzahn and Harbaugh is at least Malzahn beat Alabama a couple of times. Jim Harbaugh can never beat his rivals. You can say what you want. I think we're all pretty much going to agree on this. In my opinion, Harbaugh is a lower version of Gus Malzahn. If you didn't get to catch the game at 11 a.m. Central Time, Michigan State came out on top 37-33 and their running back went off. He had almost 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's now getting some love for the Heisman, very much deserved. Moving on with the 2:30 games, we had Georgia and Florida and Clemson versus Florida State. You will probably never see me take up for Dan Mullen ever again after this video. I'm not the biggest Dan Mullen fan. He makes a lot of questionable play calls and he has a lot of questionable things I don't agree with. At least for today, I'm going to have his back. Here's why. Going into this game and the past 3 to 4 weeks, even before the Alabama game, all the entire Florida fan base was talking about is put in Anthony Richardson, and they didn't want to see Emory Jones. The entire time the fan base and ESPN analysts were saying, yo, you got to put in Anthony Richardson, Dan Mullen was saying, okay, I hear you, but he's not ready and he doesn't know the system just yet. I'm not going to say I didn't believe Dan Mullen when he was saying that, but I wasn't so sure what he meant by that. Now I do. I'm going to talk about this situation because it's really similar to Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. Basically, to make a long story short, Florida's starting quarterback, Emory Jones, has been playing well. Not great, but well. His completion percentage for the year is almost at 70%, and he's had a decent QBR every single game. The only flaw in his game, and the reason he got benched, he has a ton of turnovers. Even with those turnover problems, Mullen's still stuck by his side. As a fan, I get it. You're tired of Emory. You want to see what AR-15 can do. Honestly, I think the Florida fans got persuaded by what Caleb Williams is doing at Oklahoma. I think these Florida fans were thinking that AR-15 was going to be as good as Caleb Williams. No, not even close. Maybe in the long run, he will be better than Emory Jones, and I would say he more than likely will. However, you do not want to start a true freshman quarterback against the best defense in the country. That was flat out a recipe for failure. If you didn't watch this game and you looked at the score, it says Georgia 34, Florida 7, you would think, oh, this was a blowout. And matter of fact, this was not even close to a blowout. The score should have been 3-0 going into halftime. AR-15 made 2 to 3 crucial mistakes before half that killed the mojo, and it just killed the whole vibe of the game. With a minute and 50 seconds left, the score was 3-0. Going into half, it was 24-0 Georgia. I'm not saying Emory Jones would have led them on scoring drives in the late second quarter. All I'm saying is, he wouldn't have made those turnovers, and I firmly stand on that. That exact thing we saw in today's game right there is why Dan Mullen has been hesitant to start him. In the second half, Jones did come in and mop up duty. He played better than Richardson. The game was pretty much over, so it didn't matter. That is a perfect example, and it goes to show you, the grass is always not greener on the other side. Florida has a huge fan base. Here's my statement to you. I hope you're happy. You got what you want. You wanted Anthony Richardson? You got Anthony Richardson. Last but not least, before we talk about Oklahoma's game, we got Clemson and Florida State. I'm going to focus on DJ Uiagalelei. In this game, he was 19 for 31, a $190, had 1 touchdown and 1 interception. DJ and Jim Harbaugh have a very similar career right now. DJ is doing just enough to not get benched. Right when he's doing good, he'll do something that has you scratching your head and saying, do we not have another backup that can do better than this? I don't know another example. It's so much like Harbaugh at Michigan. DJ will make a couple of good passes, and then he'll throw one in the dirt or miss a receiver by 2 to 3 feet. Then he'll throw a touchdown, and you're like, okay, maybe he's going to get in his groove. Right after that, he'll throw an interception that looks horrible. I've been trying to give DJ the benefit of the doubt the entire season. I'm coming to the terms now, he's pretty much a mediocre quarterback at best. There's nothing wrong with being mediocre, but for Clemson, if they want to win a national championship, they got to get a better quarterback. Shout out to Will Shipley, though. He carried this team. He had 25 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. I really like this Shipley kid. He's not a Christian McCaffrey. He has his own unique style. I don't know who you would compare Shipley to. He has a bright career, so I'm wishing him the best of luck. Now we can get into my favorite part of the video and your favorite part of the video, the Oklahoma drama. Let me tell you something. If you haven't seen Caleb Williams play football, you're missing out. This man is insanely gifted, insanely talented, and insanely smart. It's remarkable to think he's only been playing 3 to 4 games, and I already think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Some people think he should be up for the Heisman, and others are saying, oh, he's only played 4 games. I have a question right now for you watching this. If you had to start your own college football team and you could pick any quarterback in the country, how could you not pick Caleb Williams the way he's playing? I also love Matt Corral, so if you want to say Corral, I guess that's fine. For me, I gotta go with Caleb. He's lightning in a bottle. There's literally almost no words to describe with what we've seen from him so far. If he continues to play the way he's playing, how could you justify not giving him the Heisman? The Heisman's supposed to go to the best player in the country. Who's playing better than him? In today's game, he was 23 for 30, had over 400 yards with 6 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. We're not gonna focus too much on Caleb. You know how good he is. You've heard it. We're gonna talk about Rattler and what he did today. In the fourth quarter, when it was a blowout, Spencer did come into the game. And yeah, I get it. It was a blowout. It was Texas Tech. They don't have a good defense. Still, with all the pressure and hate he's been getting, it's hard to come off of the bench in any game. I got to give this man his credit. I got to give him his props. He came off of the bench, held his head high, and threw a beautiful touchdown pass. Like I said earlier in this video, it made me smile. I was super happy for him. The Oklahoma team, they were showing him love. The entire student section and the entire crowd was giving him a standing ovation. For the game, he was perfect. He was 5 for 5, had 67 yards with a touchdown. The student section at the game was chanting, "Let's go Spencer." I do somewhat have a interesting take on this that someone brought to my attention. Obviously, you know the case by now. He gets a ton of hate and, in my opinion, too much. In the past couple of weeks, would I have liked Spencer to celebrate with his team more and be more engaged on the sidelines and, you know, give some high fives to the starters? Yes, I've stated that in videos before. I do think he should take more of the Jalen Hurts approach when he got benched at Alabama. He was still chest bumping Tua when he was the backup. But at the same time, I want you to put yourself in his shoes, and I'm going to do the same thing. Imagine if me or you was the #1 quarterback in high school. We had brand endorsement deals. We was a 5-star recruit and supposed to be the #1 NFL draft prospect. Next thing you know, out of nowhere, you have 1 to 2 wishy-washy games and your own fans start booing you and you get benched. It's really, and I mean really hard, to have a positive attitude and celebrate another man taking your job away from you. That's still not an excuse. I'm not using it. I believe he should, and it's not so much knocking Spencer's character, but it gives you more of a perspective of how great of a person Jalen Hurts is. You do want to see him celebrate with the team and be more involved. At the same time, you have to understand what's going through his head. I saw this somewhere, I can't remember where. They was talking about Spencer and how he's been a starting quarterback his entire life. What people don't understand is that's not a hobby or a side thing. That's his entire personality and his character. That's what he's known as. Therefore, when you're no longer a quote-unquote starting quarterback, it does a lot to you mentally. So before you write a hate comment or try to hate on Spencer, try to put yourself in those same shoes. I firmly believe it's only going to make him grow and be a better person. There's a difference between making a statement and straight up hating on another person. If you think he's not good enough to be the starter and he's not a good quarterback, that's a football opinion. But when you start talking reckless and calling him names and stuff, that's being a hater and it gets out of hand. He's a human just like me and you, and I'm wishing him the best of luck. Anyways, I want to talk about the student section of Oklahoma before we end off this video. Or not just the student section, the entire fan base. I found this rather interesting. Somebody sent me this tweet where this person said, "The fans giving Spencer Rattler an ovation is not a heartwarming story. These two-faced people were merciless to him, demanding he being benched, booing him and saying he's no team player. True colors. The cheering isn't a nice story because the way fans have treated him is shameful." I kinda have to agree with this statement. Maybe y'all forgot, I didn't. Only 3 to 4 weeks ago, the same people who were cheering him on today were booing him. That is an extremely interesting take on the subject. Even when I was watching it, I was like, hey, they're cheering for him. I was feeling good, smiling, and then I was like, whoa, hold on. Weren't they booing him a couple of weeks ago? What's going on? My problem with it, if you're gonna hate somebody, hate somebody. If you're gonna love them, love them. Don't switch up. Maybe I'm overthinking it, and for the people that do agree with that tweet I just read off, I'm gonna leave you with this. I brought it up in a couple of videos, I think a week or two ago. I don't think the Oklahoma fans were personally booing Rattler. They were only booing because they knew they had a better backup quarterback and they wanted to see what he could do. For me personally, that's where I stand on it. If you want to say the fans are two-faced, you can. I don't think they were booing Spencer in the first place. They were wanting to see what the other quarterback could do. I also saw this tweet today. We'll end the video off with this. Somebody said, Urban Meyer and Spencer Rattler unite in Ann Arbor for a Disney caliber redemption story. Who says no? I think that's a great idea. I don't see the problem with Urban Meyer and Spencer Rattler. I'd like to see what they could do. And they also said put Tate Martell in a scrappy slot receiver spot. Some people forget that Rattler is still better than probably 98 to 90%, or not 90, but 99% of the quarterbacks in Division I. It just so happens that the guy behind him is one of the best in the country. In my opinion, right now, he's the Heisman frontrunner. I believe the Heisman should go to the best player. Caleb Williams has been the best player I've seen. And if you want to disagree with that, I would say you could also give it to Matt Corral. Speaking of Matt Corral, he's currently playing up against Auburn. When I'm speaking, they're down 28-17 at halftime. If Ole Miss loses this game to Auburn, maybe that makes Bryce Young at Alabama the Heisman frontrunner. I guess we'll have to wait and see. The Heisman race, it hasn't even started in my opinion. We'll know more in a couple of weeks. Let me know what you think about all this down below. But with all that being said, it's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and leave a like for more. And as always, let's be great. I'm out. Peace.